Hello. You've been identified as a subject matter expert in your respective role at the company. You were selected to speak on behalf of a group of individuals, a group of expenses, and/or a project. You were chosen for this role based on a number of factors, including your job title, reporting or supervising responsibilities, tenure, location, role as a project champion, department leader, or budget owner, involvement with prior year R&D studies, or recommendations from your colleagues. Your role as an SME will be to help determine which activities, expenses, and associated projects might qualify for the R&D tax credit. The R&D credit provides a direct benefit to your company's bottom line. The goal of this exercise is to determine the amount of expenses that qualify for the R&D credit. We will do this by providing an overview of the credit, explaining the criteria, asking you to consider what might qualify, and requesting you to complete a survey to capture the information. There are three types of expenses that can qualify: W-2 wages, supply expenses, and contract research expenses. The credit is significantly driven by W-2 wages, which will generally contribute 70 to 90% of the total benefit. We arrive at qualifying wage expenses by asking you for an estimate of time at the individual level that qualifies under the criteria. Then, we multiply this percentage by each person's individual W-2 wage. We will also ask you for an estimate of the amounts of supply and contract research expenses that may qualify too. Please consider this as we discuss the qualification criteria now. The R&D credit is based off the tax definition of R&D, often referred to as the four-part test. The four-part test is much more expansive than the traditional idea of what R&D is. You do not have to be wearing a white lab coat or pushing the frontiers of science to qualify, and you don't necessarily have to be an engineer either, although this is helpful. Rather, the four-part test focuses on a person's activities. Activities can qualify if a person directly meets all four parts of the test themselves, or if the person directly supports or directly supervises another individual that is meeting all four parts of the test. Also, the person must be physically present in the United States for the time to qualify. If the person has left the U.S. during the year, please be sure to exclude this from total qualifying time. The first test is the permitted purpose or the business component test. This means that activities must be related to a new or improved product or process. This could be a brand new product or process, or maybe an improvement to an existing product or process. Improvements to an existing product or process may include functionality, performance, reliability, or quality improvements. An example may include developing a second-generation widget which includes 2 new features and is 20% more efficient. The second test requires that the activities fundamentally rely on the principles of hard science. The hard sciences include physical or biological sciences, engineering, mathematics, chemistry, or computer science. This test should eliminate activities that are primarily related to business or management decisions, such as financial risk analysis, budgeting, scheduling, market analysis, or personnel issues. This test will also eliminate soft science activities, such as psychology, economics, or management science. The third test is the elimination of a technical uncertainty. The activity must be undertaken to overcome a challenge related to capability or method, or towards identifying or inventing the most appropriate design of the product or process. A person may still meet this uncertainty test, even if one or more of the alternatives are already known to work. However, research is needed to determine which alternative is the most appropriate considering the project at hand. The fourth and final test requires that substantially all of your activities on the project constitute a process of experimentation to overcome the technical challenge noted in the third test. This may include evaluating one or more alternatives, testing or prototyping, systematic trial and error, and refining and discarding different processes throughout a project. A process of experimentation may be as informal as brainstorming or whiteboarding a session, or as formal as a design of experiments. The outcome of a person's activities is irrelevant. Even if a project ultimately fails or is abandoned, if the activities performed meet all 4 criteria, the time may still qualify. If a person meets all 4 of these tests themselves, or directly supervises or directly supports someone meeting these tests, that person's time will qualify for the credit. If a person qualifies at 80% or more of their total time during the period, then the law allows 100% of that person's wages. The law was written with the idea that if a person spends 80% or more of their time on qualifying activities, then that is their primary job, and all of their wages should contribute to the credit. Supply and contract research expenses also qualify. Eligible supply expenses are expenses incurred for supplies used in the conduct of qualified research. Examples include those used by a lab scientist in experimentation, a lab assistant in entering research data into a computer, or a machinist in the fabrication of a part for an experimental model. Eligible contract research expenditures include research work performed that meets the 4-part test and where your company retains both the risk and the rights to the research performed. Examples include independent contractors that were hired to work alongside other qualifying individuals, or expenses paid to a third party to perform specialized testing. Please complete your assigned time survey with information to support the amount of time you and the other individuals on your time survey met the 4-part test during the period. If no time tracking system exists, please consider a mathematical analysis to estimate your qualifying time, such as hours per week, months per year, etc. The calculator function within the time survey will assist you with these estimates. You'll also be asked to estimate the amount of qualifying time you and your team spent on each qualifying project. If you have been assigned an expense survey, you will be asked to provide a qualification percentage next to each expense line item for supplies and contractors. The percentage should represent the amount of the expense that is linked to the qualified research activities. Please refer to the FAQ section for more information.